All right, hello, it's Paul from China Cash Buyers. Today we have a very special episode on networking with Chinese investors in the community, and really it goes much, much beyond that. We have a specialist, Alex Yu, who's down in Irvine, Orange County, California. Great area, very popular with Chinese. You're right in the epicenter of learning what's going on in the market. Also, Alex has a great background, very interesting background for a real estate agent. He worked for Morgan Chase valuations. So he understands so many of the technical, like so many agents don't really know how to value things, or maybe don't have like an experience with system or networking for building their business. Morgan Place, you're talking about the best of the best. So tell us how you do it. Maybe introduce, I know you've done a lot of things, and how do you usually introduce yourself?
Yeah, great question, Paul. Thanks for having me. So my background is that with Morgan Chase, I worked for their bank-owned property division. So obviously, there's a lot of a financial crisis back in 2006, 2007, 2008, all the way through 2009. So here in California, we acquired Washington Mutual, which was obviously a very large mortgage lender out here in California. And once we did that, unfortunately, over time, there were more and more foreclosures. So my job was really to work hand in hand with real estate agents outside the community to kind of get the highest property value we could for these properties and manage the disposition of distressed properties. And my territory, it was as little as Orange County, and then it continued to grow. Then it's Orange County, LA. And then pretty soon I was all of Southern California. So that's more or less, what I did in my past life. And I just realized that I could get back into real estate and do that full time and, get the institutional approach and give it to home buyers out here in Southern California. So I've been really fortunate that I've had that opportunity.
Right. You've also worked with a senator, and you're the head of association. So tell me about that.
Right. So previously I was working with Senator Bob Huff, California State Senator, and I worked for him for Asian Affairs as an ambassador. So my job was just to communicate and connect with the Asian communities. And in addition to that, what I did was currently I'm the president for National Association of Asian Professionals, which is the Asian-based organization that is national across the country, obviously, and also the China-U.S. Business Association, assistant to the president there. So a lot of the things I do are really connected to the Asian community, because what people don't realize is that there's a lot of ways to build a business, but if you can build it through your connections, because we live in a world, because obviously you're in Bangkok right now, Paul, and we know people from around the world, but sometimes we don't even know our next door neighbors. So it's finding ways to really build those relationships.
Right. Okay, great. So you're really so glad you took the time to be on the show. Tell us I guess there's so many ways to attack this. So feel free to jump in, whatever. I'll just throw some questions at you. I'd say, what are the mistakes you see agents making when they're trying to reach out? Do you see things that they're doing like on a systematic basis that just don't work, or waste time, or maybe it's too expensive?
Right. I think that there's a lot of ways that you can kind of build a relationship with people out there. But one of the problems that I think as an agent, they kind of have a shotgun approach. And they think that if they can connect with a ton of people, that's going to be the most valuable thing for them. If you notice, you'll see people that have 5,000 friends on Facebook, and if they post something, they get like 2 likes. It doesn't make any sense. The numbers just don't correlate. And it's because they've gone wide, but they've gone very shallow, because these people don't really know them. They don't know the value. And just because you show up in their feed for a long time doesn't automatically build a relationship. Same thing with LinkedIn groups. There's a lot of ways to kind of build relationships, but deepening the relationship is really where the key is. And that's really where the money is, because you can go into a mine, but if you dig real wide and real shallow, you probably won't find anything.
Right. So the old throw the business cards at a ton of people and add everybody on Facebook isn't the solution. Right. So what's your approach? What did you learn? I'd love to hear what they taught you at Morgan Chase, like how to network professionally. And the things you learned, are they applicable for agents? Is there something they can't do? Or what did you learn that people can use?
Yeah, they're absolutely applicable. So if you kind of put it into perspective, my job was to go in and help the mortgage bankers, because obviously we're losing money on these assets of properties that we foreclosed. But my job was to go and help the mortgage bankers deliver the opportunities and the things that we had as a company, which include, obviously, there's bank branches, there's different types of lending, and there's a lot of relationship opportunities that the mortgage bankers didn't really spend any time delivering to agents, because they would go and they would talk to a real estate agent and be like, hey, you know, we have XYZ, we have this product, we have that product. So they would lead by product, but how can a doctor prescribe what's wrong with you if they don't have any idea of what your symptoms are?
Right.
So along the same vein, really the job of the mortgage banker is to be like, I've seen you at this organization. Give me, really, that needs to be an entree into what the mortgage banker can offer. And I'll give you an example. So there's the Asian Real Estate Association of America. And I was one of the only mortgage bankers that went in there and actually was able to get business when I was on the lending side. And people are like, how did you get business? Because it's, just to give you a breakdown, it's 60% affiliates, which is considered title companies, lenders, and other affiliated businesses, and only 40% agents. Obviously, we want the business from the agents, right?
Right.
So really what I would do is that, first off, you need to get to know someone, because the worst thing for you in any business is to be completely obscure, meaning that nobody knows you. So what you do is that you need to get involved with the president of the organization. You need to get involved with the board. And one of the questions that I trained them in is, how did you get involved? Why did you decide to get involved with ARIA? Because if you understand what someone else's goals are and what their goals are for the organization, then you find out how you can help. All you need to do is help them a little bit, and you are now on the same team. And then now when you're going around and you talk to the president, they're like, oh yeah, I know that guy. So you look like a somebody. Number one, become someone that is a somebody. Number two, you can basically tell other agents at that point, where you're like, hey, you know what? I'm working on something with the president. You didn't need to tell them that you're not maybe working on a real estate transaction with them. Now they know if you're good enough to work for the president, you're definitely good enough to work with them. So that's how you would build those relationships and set up the right interviews. That's really how you dominate an organization, instead of going there and then going one time and thinking you have to get business by the time you're done today. Otherwise, you're not going back, because consistency, it breeds success, as you may know, Paul.
Right. So you came in the first time and you got the president and you figured out something that he needed and you fixed it. Is that basically what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. You build that relationship by offering help and helping others. By helping others, it's going to demonstrate that they automatically assume you're a good person. And hopefully you are. Obviously, not everyone's perfect. But the thing is that if you can demonstrate value, that is what you need to do to be able to be in a position to move forward and help them.
Right. Right. Okay. So let's talk about let's say the Asian community and Chinese buyers that are coming overseas to purchase properties. What do you see? Like, obviously networking in this kind of group is difficult because some of the buyers aren't over yet, right? They're still back in China. So how do you, there's so many different aspects of it. How do you handle it? How do you network in both the community that isn't in the US yet and the community that's already there?
Absolutely. So the main way that I get clients that are from overseas is that I connected with immigration attorneys and people they may want to purchase real estate in the US. Now, they'll come over here and then they'll want to take a look at some really expensive properties. They'll want to get a feel for it, but they might not be in a position to buy, because unless their visas look like they're going to be good and they're going to be coming to the US, they may not be in a position to buy. And additionally, as you may know, the ability to get money over here has been relatively challenging. So you need to be connected to people that can actually help them facilitate, because more times than not, someone's connected them with someone in China, and then now they're coming over, connecting with someone else here, and you need to be part of the anchor that keeps them there and keeps, things going while they're going back and forth. Now, once that happens and you have built your relationship with trusted individuals, that's the best way to get business. But I'll tell you an interesting story is that I was showing a property down in Laguna Niguel, which is not very Asian at all. There's not a lot of Asians in that area. And I was showing a home to, one of my other international clients from Argentina, and literally an Asian couple came up to the house. They're like, "Oh, we want to take a look at the house." And I'm like, "Well, unfortunately, I'm showing this house to somebody else." And then after that, they were still talking around in the street. I brought them in, and they're actually from Shenzhen, and then they're looking to invest in the U.S. Yeah. So if you have your feelers out there, you can definitely do that. Their challenge is that they're having problem moving the money into the U.S. So I've connected them to someone who can help them. So now we're going to be able to bridge that gap. I get a real estate sale out of it. I hopefully built a long-term relationship, and I've rewarded my referral partner. So it's a win-win-win, which is how you can move forward the best.
Right. And you picked off a client out of nowhere, right? Just standing outside, right?
So, absolutely. Sometimes it's luck, right?
Well, it's awareness, right? It's being aware, I found a bunch of buyers at an event once, and it was just a matter of going up to them and talking. Obviously it's easier for me because I speak Chinese, but I just came in and I brought in a friend who can't speak Chinese. We just went in and started talking to people. And next thing you know, we're out at dinner, and they were visiting, they were interested in Florida, they were interested in the US, ended up buying. So yeah, right. Okay. So you connect to the professional. So do you connect with do you have a tax accountant on your team, or is it all immigration attorneys? Is there anybody else they should think about? Who are these trusted, in your experience, who are these trusted people?
Right. So immigration attorneys are important. There's immigration attorneys that kind of deal with the asset movement, so they can help move the cash over here. They have different channels to do that. Obviously, you want to go with the more legitimate ones, because the ones that are not legitimate, they don't stay around very long. But accounting is a big piece of it, because we've seen a huge shift from the people coming over and interested in investing in EB5 projects because of the relatively low success rate in the EB5s and the aggressive marketing over there in China and backdoor deals and everything else. So what we find is that the majority of people are coming over here and then using L1, where they go ahead and establish a business here in the US in order to be successful. Now, a big part of that L1 is that if you don't have the accounting in line and you don't do it correctly, right, then unfortunately, it's just not going to work. Plus, they're going to have a huge tax liability. And at the end of the day, you'll have done them a disservice. And everything in Chinese buyers, it's all about relationships. So that's a big key. So absolutely, you need an immigration attorney, you need a CPA. And oftentimes you just need to build relationships with other people that may be able to add value, such as construction companies, because overall, Chinese individuals, they want brand new houses. And if it's not brand new, it needs to be relatively new. And if not, they need to be able to remodel it to get it to a point where they're like it.
If you're networking, that's interesting, with the construction company, right? Do you get buyers from there? What are you getting from them? What are you looking for? And what can you provide to them?
Sure. So we don't necessarily get a lot of buyers from them. Sometimes if the relationship didn't go well with their last agent, they will, contact me. But most of the time, it's because we still have Asian buyers and Chinese buyers in specific that come over, buy real estate, and then they either want to flip it or they want to go ahead and then get it made really nice to meet their personal goals. So that's why we're just helping them find someone that can help them remodel. And I had no idea that, Chinese people loved swimming so much, but they love having a pool, even if they're not going to swim in it. I'm like, do you swim? They're like, I don't know how to swim, but I need a pool. I'm like, all right, I'll help you get a guy to put a pool in.
That is so funny, because that goes so back and forth, because so many people I know, they say, I don't want a pool. And they try to they concrete it over. And in Irvine, you're hearing they want a pool. So it really depends on where you are on that one, because people are watching all over the world on this channel. So it's interesting. That's really, in Irvine, they want a pool in Orange County. Okay, great. Wow. And then so basically you're using the construction companies as a way to get listings, essentially things to sell that are attractive to Chinese. So you don't have to just go on the MLS and look for listings, right? You have something, you kind of know what they can make, you know what their specialties are, and you can, as soon as you get a buyer, you can bring them over. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it, because once the construction company does the work, then the quality of the property is going to be a lot better. And at the end of the day, they know, what Chinese buyers are looking for. So you can kind of serve it up in a way where it makes it easier for them to make the decision. Because when they're here in the US, unfortunately, they don't have a lot of lead time. Usually you get a message on WeChat like at 12 in the morning and like, hey, can you set up a couple $1 million properties at like 10 a.m. because I have 4 hours to kill. And you got to do your best to try to make that happen. You'll take them through the neighborhoods, but most of them right now are looking for minimum is hillside views if they have the wealth, and they would prefer ocean views if at all possible. And then on top of that, they are looking for pools. That's been the last couple that I've been able to help service. And
Wow.
Newport Coast is a great area too that they really like.
Interesting. Yeah, it just reminded me of a story I had, the way you just kind of get things done on the fly, right? When I was in Shanghai, we had a couple of potential buyers. I was showing a house. I usually didn't show houses because I was president, but this day, for some reason, I was showing this house. It was a Lao Fanzi. It was an old Shanghai French house. It was a really beautiful place. So I got there, and the guy pulls up in a white BMW, and the landlord didn't show up. The owner didn't show up. So I was like, geez, what can we do? How can we show this house? So I knocked on all the doors in the neighborhood, and I figured, let's just get into somebody's house similar. And I knocked on the door, and one of the neighbors was really nice. They let us in. They made tea for us. We're eating cookies and stuff. And we're sitting there looking in their backyard, which was the same kind of backyard as they had next door. It took an hour and a half before the owner finally came. But by then, they were so friendly that the owner came over, and they just opened up this is true story. They opened up their trunk. It was full of cash. There was suitcases full of money. And they bought it cash. I think it was about 3.5 million US. And the owner, the seller, regretted selling it later because it went up a lot after that. But either way, they got it, and it was because I was just able to just think of something to get him in there. So I looked for there was another Chinese lady, and then they were friends after that. So it was like really great too. Although the neighbor did try to steal the sale, but we got it anyway.
That's what's amazing. I mean, when they come here to the US, a lot of the work we have to do is educating them on how this process works here compared to over there. I mean, we just worked on one. It's a $2.9 million house in Newport Coast. And they just came to me and they're like, can I use my credit card? And I was like, what do you mean? Can I just use my debit card? And then I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. And then he's like, I'm only going to be here for a week, so can I buy it today? And I was like, no, it doesn't work that way. There's 30 days that they have to move out. We're going to do inspections. He's like, what are the inspections for? I'm like, to make sure you're buying a good house. He's like, oh, they do a lot of things over here. And I was like, yes, it's very, very different. Because over there, you basically show up with a suitcase full of cash, and tomorrow you shake your hands, and then it's their house, right? I mean, it's a much different process.
Right. Educating the buyer is so important, because you're right. In China, it is so different. We had all kinds of situations where we sold houses that the day they got there, in sight unseen, whatever, they sent somebody down with the money. And then had one situation even where the seller, after we signed the contract and the cash, was piles of cash on the table for the house, and there was piles of cash for the commission. And the seller grabbed the pile of cash for our commission and ran out the door. And we had to chase him to get our commission. He literally took our commission and ran down the street. And I had to catch up with him because it's like I wasn't going to let him take the commission, So it's right. Regulated in China, and so the buyers need to know that there's a professional process. And I think people hear these stories and they might go on the other side. It's not completely. These stories are true, but they're wild and not unusual. Usually in China, it's a normal situation. In fact, after that, we signed all our contracts in the bank. We went into the bank in the waiting room. We signed them because we knew that could happen, right? But just so people know, they have to educate the clients that there's a process and the dates are important. And if you educate the client, I think the important thing about that is they don't feel like they're being talked down to. Because a lot of rich guys in China, they don't like this stuff. They don't like regulation. They don't like to have to prove this. They're used to just proving it by just showing their business card or, their WeChat, right? That's all they need in China, right? So they don't like this stuff. So you have to be careful about educating them in a way in advance. They know what's coming so they don't lose face and everybody's happy all the way through the process.
Yeah, such a valuable point, because at the same time, like some of them want to do financing over here in the US, and yes, they can do 40% down, which is it's still a really good program, but when you still have to have documentation, they're like, what's taking so long and what's going on? And they don't have faith in the system because, you know, it's a cash society in China. So it's a different world for them. But most recently, there's a lot more Chinese that have the ability that are looking at doing development. So they're more curious about buying multifamily. How do I buy a commercial building, especially if there's families and companies that are doing it on a larger scale. So out here in Irvine, Newport Beach, there's still some opportunities to flip properties,
Okay.
but the easiest ones, which sell the quickest, are not that easy to do anymore just because there's so many investors locally and domestically that are in that market trying to turn a profit, trying to flip a home. So if the margins are fairly low, it's a lot of work, you know, for them. And they're just trying to create and duplicate a business that they may be successful in China over here, but trying to open up, I had a client that wants to open up a new hot pot place in Irvine. And I was like, that is not the place because there's just way too many. There's just too much competition.
Sure.
There's demand for it, but you just got to factor that in. And, you know, they just want to create something to call their own, but unfortunately you got to follow the process, and that's going to delay kind of your whole goal.
Right. Educating people in all aspects, protecting them from making a huge error. Right. So I totally agree that we had the same problem in Shanghai. People would move in and they would want to start businesses, and it's like, I knew it wouldn't succeed. So I made sure that they met the right people so that they would realize that this model was not going to work in China, right? So same with Chinese coming over the other way. Okay, what about networking online? Is there any other? Well, actually, let's go. Is there any more offline tips you have, like that you have at certain communities to join, or you know, certain maybe networking for certain kind of buyers? Like for example, one of the people watching this is selling commercial properties, strip malls, and the buyer that buys those is kind of like the old school Chinese patriarch, you know, who built the hardcore, you know, greasy elbow business. And then his daughter is going to Harvard now, right? That type of investor buys strip malls, right? So he's trying to network in that community. Do you have any advice for people looking for certain type of investors, or, you know, networking in other ways? Any tips would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's not very many, especially when it comes to commercial real estate guys, inside the Asian associations, there's not a ton of commercial guys because it tends to be people that deal more in residential real estate. But there's an Orange County group where it's like called For Investor, By Investor, and you can go to these and it's mostly investors to find them, especially if you have inventory to sell. Plus, there's a ton of Facebook groups that are built to go ahead and demonstrate and show off the properties that you may have, you know, coming up. But to find the buyers, I think that having your ear to the ground and being more involved in these organizations is key, because there's going to be a lot of different people in these organizations. But if you become the guy who's known for real estate or insurance or any other product, and someone that becomes trustworthy and is going to continue to go to meetings, that's the value. I think that one of the things that I've realized over time is that to be successful and join one of these groups, the biggest thing that you can do is to go back and be consistent. Just like when you start building out cash buyers, trying to cash buyers, you know, you had one video up there, but now you get more and more views because people realize that you're going to stick around and continue to add value. And it's the same way if you're networking for buyers or trying to find, you know, investors that are willing to either take your inventory or develop your inventory. The key is to build as many relationships the right way. And once you've done that and you can demonstrate a story on how you've helped other people, that's really where the value is, by using your personal story and sharing that with people, because that's what's going to get them to go. You're not going to be successful telling them, you know, how awesome you are and how you're the coolest guy, because truth is that right now there's so many things that are affecting us to make that transition from offline to online, where we're very skeptical of what's on the internet because there's so much information. It's gone from a time where there wasn't enough information to having so much information out there that what is real, do I decide if it's real or not, right? And it's the same thing offline.
You know, it's interesting you say that because one thing I've noticed a big uptick in China is Chinese agents using, it's super popular now. Centerline has a new form, what do you call it? It's basically a website that allows you to do live streaming for properties. And live streaming is much more transparent. It's much more, you can trust it more because it can't be edited. It can't be, you can't just set up a scene and then have like a fake Photoshop picture, right? You're walking around, they can see how you look, they can see how the property, they can hear sounds. If dogs are barking, they can hear that. They can hear the cars. So live streaming and tools that make it impossible to fake are really, for me, I think the good way to get over that barrier is the trustworthy breaking through barrier. Because so many people are afraid of being out there. They're afraid of putting themselves out there. They're afraid of you're even afraid of video, right? They just don't want to. And the more you go out there, the more you open yourself up. I think the Chinese investors, they really like that because it's like, that's a real person. I can call that person. Right. Okay. Right. I can definitely see that. Yeah, Chinese websites, I know there's a ton. When I started China Cash Buyers 4 years ago and I searched for Chinese agent websites, I remember looking and there wasn't that many. Now I did it again, we're redoing the China Cash Buyers 2.0 now, and I did it again. And I was like, whoa, it's a completely different world, as it was 4 years ago. So, right. So what do you do? How do you break through, like to be, through the noise?
So there's a couple things that I do. I try to be as real as possible. If we want to transition a little bit more onto online. So what I do is that when I go to organizations and I spend any time talking to people, I get to find out a little bit more about the person, like where did they grow up? How did they get started and what they do? Because whether or not they're a real estate agent, insurance agent, an attorney, not everyone woke up one day and was like, you know what, I want to be an attorney. Maybe someone impacted their life in a way where they felt like law and justice was important to them. Once you know that about a person, it's going to help you understand what motivates them, because sales and relationship building, I would say, is mostly about psychology. The psychology of being able to understand what's important to this person. So you want to demonstrate value by showing them and finding out who they are. I think a lot of the biggest problems that we have, and I teach a networking class, is that people feel like they have to be like an interesting extrovert to be successful.
Right.
Really, you're more successful if you're an interested introvert, where you try to find out more about the person, because only then can you say, well, now that I know you, is this something that would be interesting to you? And maybe we can work together on it. So I try to do that, even if I've just met someone on Facebook and there's a number of groups that I'm a part of, but through Facebook, I do generate business through Facebook. And not all my stuff is real estate related, because I want people to get a sense for who I am.
Right.
And once in a while, usually once every couple months or so, someone, even today, someone's like, hey, I really like your Facebook post. They kind of make me laugh, or, I found a great restaurant here. So you become like someone that's implanted in their mind for a certain thing. And then they said, I know you do real estate, so can you help me list my house? I rarely get those calls that are that easy, but they said, you know what, I saw that you're working in real estate. I met you once before at this event. Can I ask you questions about real estate? Where a lot of agents fail is that all they do is they go on there and they spam real estate. It's like real estate 24/7. And then other agents never talk about real estate. There's like an 80-20 rule that exists in this world, the Pareto principle.
Right.
80% should be personal, 20% should be business. And that's going to be enough where your commercial can run, you can be excited, but you need to be able to craft it in a message and be able to share that. I think a lot of agents really don't know how to do that. And even for me, it's been a big learning experience, because in our Facebook, it shows up like 10 years ago, your memories. And I was looking at that. I used to get 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 likes, and I can just copy that and post it back on there today and then get 25, 50, 100 likes on the same thing, because I've done a good job of, entertaining and connecting with people.
Right. That's interesting. Do you know Gregor Robertson? Have you ever heard of him?
Sounds very familiar.
He's the ex-mayor of Vancouver. And I met him. One of my friends did his Weibo, his feed, right, in Chinese. And
wow.
So she's a friend of mine. So I was up there at Hootsuite, and I I met her and we were hanging out, and then he came in that day. So I got to meet him, and I was so dumb not to take a picture with him. But either way, we talked for a long time. And he had the best, he has, even now, the best Weibo feed for like a non-Chinese I've ever seen. It's so good. He does exactly what you say. Like he even had like shoes were on sale that day. So he had like super cheap shoes, like a Weibo thing. It's like a Twitter for other people that don't know. It's like his Twitter in China. And there was a really good deal. He thought it was a really good. His girlfriend's Chinese, and she loved the shoes, so he put it up on his Weibo, and he got tons of likes off that because it really was a good sale. And the Chinese women were watching this thing, and they thought, "Wow, he understands us." You know, he's not selling stuff, but he's like promoting things that we care about. And his following exploded, and he's just done a great job of giving value and not being all business, right? Move your business to Vancouver. He's like, hey, there's all these other things. Oh, by the way, our sister city or whatever, something related to his business, right? Yeah. So there's good to have role models. I think you do a great job, Alex. We're on Facebook obviously together, and I see your posts, and they just hit that right tone with it. I look at them. You're honest enough. When you have a problem, you put it, and so I look and I comment, and it draws me in more than most people's feeds. So you do a great job with that. I can say that for sure.
Oh, that's great. Thanks. So, I mean, overall, I think that a lot of people don't realize the value of being connected to people. I think at a primal level, actually, people really want to be connected with each other.
Sure.
But in this day and age where you look around and everyone's on their phones, I mean, it's just normal. So to break through the noise, what you want to do is just find a way to connect with people. And the more connected you're going to be. And a mentor of mine used to tell me, he's like, and this is what he left with me. He's like, networking is so important because networking is only one letter away from not working. So it's important for you to network. Otherwise, you're not going to work. It's that simple. And I was like, you know what? It's a good reminder. So when I'm out there talking to people, I'm like, you know what? I need to continue to build relationships wherever I go, because you never know where an opportunity is going to come from. It may not even be in real estate. It may be where you're out volunteering somewhere and you find someone and you can connect. Like, it's so simple. Like, I remember one post, and this is more of the volunteer stuff that I like to do, but someone posted in like a community forum, hey, there's a guy doing a mobile car wash for the homeless. We're looking for towels. And I posted it up there on my Facebook, and I got 100 towels. Then I met this lady, and she's been cooking turkeys for, homeless people on Thanksgiving for a long time. And these are the people that help me actually realize what I do is valuable. And that's mainly why I left JP Morgan Chase. It's a great company. Probably one of the most well-run companies that exist. And I was making a great income, but it didn't come down to money at that point. I realized what was important to me was being able to connect with people and spend more time volunteering. When you have to cover all of Southern California, it doesn't leave much opportunity for that. So now I build my business. I'm pretty busy in real estate, but at the same time, I can also carve out time and spend it volunteering. And what I realize is that the people I meet when I'm volunteering, these tend to be the best clients also, because these are people that are committed to helping others, because that's really, I'm in the business of service, right? Any business.
Right. Wow. What a great, I love your example of networking, not working is one letter away. That's hilarious. Never heard that. That's great. And it's so true, right? It's easy. Wow. How about, I was going to end there, but I really want to know what you think about WeChat and different tools to network. What do you see them good for? Do you know anybody who's like an expert that you think is exceptional? Or if you're an expert, how do you use WeChat? What tricks do you have for people to connect on WeChat?
I'll tell you, for me, WeChat doesn't make up a big part of my business.
Okay.
But with my Chinese clients, especially some of my clients in China, it's almost the only way that we can really communicate consistently. So we definitely use that. I mean, some people are very crafty in how they have built their WeChat. And I don't know the name of this agent, but he goes to any political event he can go to, and he hires someone to take pictures of him right next to these politicians. So it almost looks like he knows every single politician. And I know his business has definitely grown because it looks like if you want to get connected with him, he's going to help you get by and connect you to everybody that is political. And obviously in places like China, that's a big, big deal. So he's taken that and been able to do that. For me, I think that the social media platforms in China, they are very, very valuable. But what's worked in the past where people go in and then they just start spamming people and adding people to groups and sending random people messages, I think that the spam is at a point where people are more aware of it. Just like if you get really weird Facebook requests, where you're like, this girl would never be friends with me in a million years. So who is this girl? Let me delete her, right? And on top of that, what you have is that you get these spam emails. But what's happening is that as a culture and as the app develops, people are trying to find ways to go ahead and use it for their own purposes. So they're more aware. But like I said, even Chinese people are looking for really genuine connections. So it's important that you continue to find ways to connect with them. And then WeChat is important. I mean, with my clients that are more in Taiwan, we tend to use Line, or Weibo is also really important. So there's a lot of different tools, but that's going to be, the preferred medium. Just like sometimes, here in the US, you text people and they'll text you back, but you call them, they don't call you back, right? So you got to use whatever you have.
You know how I use WeChat for networking is, you remember when you had your old phone and you were sending SMSs and there was basically no email? You wanted to, like, sometimes if you met somebody, you want to remember who they are. So you would take a picture of them, right? And they had some of the formats had a picture, so you could remember, you associate the guy's name. That's why people put their name on their business card, is you want to associate the name with the face. You don't forget, right? Obviously, you don't want to abuse it when you're meeting 10,000 people, but just to remember it easier, it's nice to have people's face, right? Was that Bob? Was that, and so with WeChat, what I'll do is when I meet somebody, like say I'll meet a Chinese traveler or something here, I'll just take a picture with them. I'll do a selfie with them. And then I'll add them on WeChat and then tag them, or have them, even better yet, have them upload it. Like have them do the selfie and then they upload it and they tag me. And then all their friends, everybody connected, can see that they uploaded it because they can see the tag, and then people start liking it. I met a ton of actually government guys in one city in China doing that. I just met somebody, he happened to be very high up in the CCP, and we were talking, and he was really pro American immigration, actually, so it was a really interesting guy. We ended up going out to lunch and everything. We took a picture, and then that picture got me the police chief, like everybody I met in the city, because everybody else was like, oh, the mayor met this guy, and then it's like, boom, got to fully all these other guys I met. It was really amazing. So it can be a good tool. It can be a good tool if you, especially if they upload it and they tag you, then it just goes to all their friends, and it shows. Sometimes they'll want to show they're meeting people. Like if they're traveling, they're not just in a tour group. They're actually getting out there. So there's many reasons why they would do it, but it can be good. It can be good to use WeChat. I'll just immediately when I meet them, I'll just add them on WeChat, do a picture. I remember their name because I'm not so good at writing Chinese and reading Chinese. I speak it, but I can't. So also when their name is on there in the WeChat profile, I can't read it so well, so I forget who they are. So having a picture is really good right away, and it associates with them on my feed, right? So if I forget, I can just go back in. So that's what I use it for. If that's helpful for you, I don't know.
That is a fantastic tip and a great reminder on how to make smart decisions with social media. Yeah, absolutely. That's something that I'll put into my playbook, because that's great. Thanks, Paul.
Sure. Yeah, cool. Okay. Any other tips and tricks from Alex? This has been a fantastic interview. Everybody should watch this twice. Take notes. I'll put some notes in the things you mentioned. Was it buy investors, sell investor? What was that one? The website?
Yeah, Orange County for investors, buy investors. That's a great, organization, and they have monthly meetings and they provide training. So yeah, that one's fantastic. And there's a lot of other groups that you can get involved with. And
what are the names?
So there's Los Angeles buy sell. So there's a lot of these buy sell groups on Facebook where if you're looking for a certain property, they'll post it up there. Basically, it's the first access to a property sometimes, where it'll be a sneak preview on what comes out. And that's why you want to get involved, because if you know what's going on, because as an investor, they're going to want to know that you have the inside track on what's going on. And if you can demonstrate that, that's what you want to get involved in.
Right, right. Wow, great, great. Have you ever been to a Confucius Institute? Have you ever checked out one of those?
I've not. I've heard about them, but I have not gone. I try to go and do a little bit of meditation once in a while just to
Right.
refocus.
Yeah, they have like
But
meditation, Tai Chi, and things like that. They're in the universities, probably UCI. I'm sure they have one. But
they probably do.
some people are against them because they can be political, but they actually have a lot of good like arts and stuff that you can study. It's usually $50, or very cheap for a class, and there's a lot of Chinese there. Good place to meet people. Physically go in, you know.
Great tip. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, cool. All right. Any closing remarks?
No, well, it's been a great time here on China Cash Buyers because obviously you led the way for these websites and for these organizations and groups to get the message out about Chinese cash buyers because you were at kind of the forefront of that. And now, it's all the rage. And what we realize is that without going and actually doing it and having both sides, it's not that valuable. You can basically talk a good game and, be an instant guru, but you have the background and, I've learned a lot from you as well. So I think that, if people stay tuned and keep learning, that's how you're going to be successful. It doesn't matter, the culture, because I know a client that's, or actually an agent that's they're Persian, but they do a ton of Chinese business because they've become a trusted advisor. If you try to add value and breed trust, anything is possible.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, for me, it's like my life work. I like to connect. I like to meet other culture. That's why I lived overseas pretty much all my adult life. I love it. For me, I would do it for free. Obviously, came over. So yeah, thanks so much. Okay, cool. Well, how can people connect to you? How can people add you? How can they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can connect on Facebook at www.fb.com/AlexHYU. So they can connect with me on Facebook pretty easily there. And that'll be a good place for them to start. And if they're somewhere else in the country and, want to work on potential referral relationships, because I do have clients that are looking outside, they can just go to my website, which is alexanderyu.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Thanks so much. Hey, have a great one, and thanks for bringing so much value, man. This is blowing my mind, actually. This is blowing my mind. All right. Thanks. Okay, let's see. Where do I end it here? Oh, the thing is so bright out here. Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah.